Vardhate Agnir Idhatashi Esa Deva Diter Garva Ojas Kashyapamarpitam Disastimiran Sarva Vardhate Agniribhaitashi. Word by word meaning synonyms. Esa, this, Deva, O Lord, Dite, O of Dite, Garva, Ojas, Oja, Siman, Kashyapam of Kashyapa, Arpitam, deposited, Disha, direction, Timiram, causing complete darkness, Sarva, all, Vardhate, overloads, Agni, fire, Eva, as Edhasi, fuel. Translation by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki jai. As fuel overloads a fire, so the embryo created by the semen of Kashyapa in the womb of Diti has caused complete darkness throughout the universe. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki jai. The darkness throughout the universe is explained herewith as being caused by the embryo created in the womb of Diti by the semen of Kashyapa. Om Agyana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakya Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasme Sri Gurave Namo Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupakadamaiham Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Utapatakamalam Sri Guru Vaishnavamsha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sakana Raghunatham Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Sri Vishakha Vitamsha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vanchakalpataru Vishakapa Sindhu Vevacha Patitanam Pavanepyo Vaishnavepyo Namo Namo Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivash Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Nitachal Nivasaya Nityaya Paramatmane Balabhadra Subhadrabhya Jagannatha. So thank you so much for joining this wonderful Sangha of Srimad Bhagavatam on this beautiful Monday morning. And here in this verse, there is a appeal from the Devas to Brahmaji about this issue of the procreation process which has started. And this has been discussed by Maitreya Muni and Vidurji. So in this chapter, it's a discussion between Maitreya Muni and Vidurji, then recursing into a loop inside where when the Devas have realized that the procreation process of someone who is going to be a very difficult personality to deal with, and he is about to grow in the womb of Diti, starting from Kashyapa Muni, then the Devas, the demigods, are appealing to Brahmaji about this process, that this process of procreation of this, very ghastly personality in the womb of Diti is causing complete darkness in the entire world. So there are certain things which we are going to discuss. So it's a recursive discussion within Maitreya Muni Vidurji into Brahmaji and the demigods being discussing about the procreation process. And when this procreation process is starting from Kashyapa Muni, depositing into the womb of Diti, there is the element of the spreading of darkness. So whenever you have light, you have a way to spread the light. Essentially, when you are in a darkness, you essentially take your iPhone or whatever, and then try to put your torchlight app and try to brighten up the darkness spot. So you can spread light But how can you spread darkness? That's essentially is the topic of discussion today. Is is this activity of spreading of darkness is something which is keeping the devatas, the demons, the demigods, very worried. And how do you spread darkness? You can't really take something and spread the darkness. You have a dark place, you put some light, then it glows. So you basically, as you put more bulbs in the house lightens up. So you're basically spreading light during Diwali when some of the personalities are killed, Narakasura was killed. There is joy, and that joy is spread by the lighting of different things. And Lord Ram comes back, gets coronated. We spread light. So the spreading of light is well understood, but how do you spread darkness? Is actually this contemplation on this beautiful Monday, when we start discussing about how this darkness can really overpower light, and how this darkness, which is getting manifested in the womb of uh, Diti, is to be understood. So this darkness in various scriptures is compared with the lack of transcendental knowledge. Whenever there is lack of transcendental knowledge, whenever people do not understand the element of the four pillars of the dharma, and they start indulging in different things, they are basically professing the onslaught of darkness. So whenever you go out, you see various different advertisement, various different activities being displayed to you, which will derail your mind in the thought process of thinking about aspects which are not uh, regulated. And when that onset goes on, then the darkness is spread. And this darkness is such a thing. Whenever there is darkness, when you go into a cave, for example, and the cave has been dark for millions and millions of times, but a single torchlight app in your phone can lighten the thousands years of darkness the cave was subjected to. So this light of knowledge is something which can kill the darkness anytime. And whenever we are under a mode of darkness, whenever these personalities, such as the Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyakya, in the womb of Diti is about to be born, there is a predetermined announcement that they are going to cause significant damage to the world. And because of that thing, then everybody is worried. So whenever Mother Diti came to know that her kids are going to be a cause of so much of concern, Mother Diti is withholding the delivery of these personalities, and she is holding on. And actually, our scriptures mentions that when Diti realizes that this person who is going to be born is going to create havoc, so he withholds the delivery in the womb, taking all the pain as a mother, that when this person is going to be released from me, Mother Diti is thinking, they are going to cause havoc. So she withholds the pregnancy, in the sense that the withholds the delivery of these monster personalities, because when they are out, and in the womb they started creating havoc. And what that means is this 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 aspect, when a very dark personality is coming, the the announcement that they're coming is triggered by the devatas, the demigods, getting worried that this personality is about to come, and they're going to create havoc, they're going to kill, they're going to violate, and they're going to. So Mother Diti, there are two aspects we have to think about. Mother Diti is so empathetic to various different personalities that she is not delivering and she is withholding the kids in the womb so that they, and this process of withholding is not just days, it's years. It's written in the scriptures that Mother Diti is withholding the delivery of these kids to the entire world so much in the womb that they start causing havoc in the womb, and the spreading darkness. And then the empathy of Mother Diti is discussed here. And the second aspect which is discussed here is the spreading of darkness. So whenever we are in this material world, we hear things which are not regulated, which are often advertising in nature. There will be politicians who will be putting a political viewpoint. There will be, different, uh, you know, people who want gains with their advertisement. They will end up putting their own views, and then so we are all constantly bombarded with information which is going to derail us from our uh, position of the institution that we are part and parcel of the Supreme, and we should look at ways how to go back to the Supreme. Instead of that, they derail us to think that we are the body and we have to take care of the body with so much of cosmetics, with so much of workout, with so much of focusing on the so-called news, and that totally derails us and takes us to the path of darkness, which is explained here. So the darkness is not spread by some kind of instrument like a light or a dark light or this light or that light. The darkness is essentially the lack of transcendental knowledge, which totally derails us from the process of uh, feeling something special for the Supreme with the onset of various different festivals or whatever it may be. So the spreading of darkness is compared with the lack of transcendental knowledge which is there. So when Lord Krishna was born and Mother Devaki was experiencing that Lord Krishna is going to come. So there are very significant personalities who was coming. So the onset of a good personality, like the Supreme Personality of Godhead, triggered an aura of beauty in the minds of Mother Devaki, and she was looking effulgent. But the same situation where Mother Devaki is in the jail of Kamsa, seeing Mother Devaki getting effulgent with the thought process of the onset of Krishna, the eighth child, where all the demigods, where all the the supreme powers, if I may, they are constantly praying that when this beautiful Akarshayati Krishna is going to appear, Mother Devaki is feeling effulgent. But seeing this effulgence feeling, the unfavorable anukulation, the unfavorable personalities are getting worried. Kamsa, seeing Mother Devaki feeling very happy, is putting the jail into more stricter controls so that uh, the path becomes difficult. So it is a tussle between light and dark. It's a tussle between goodness and God disobeying activities. And whenever this happens, the only way it is mentioned in Bhagavad Gita is to cut this method of ignorance through the weapon of knowledge. There is no way we could curb darkness without curbing the darkness with the weapon of knowledge. If the weapon of knowledge is around, we cannot, tweak the real thing. We cannot, undermine the importance of knowledge. And these doubts, Tashmat Agyana Sambhutam, Tistham Jnana Sinatmana. That means this the sword of darkness can only be cut. The sword of the, the the weapon of knowledge can only cut the darkness, and with the cutting of the darkness with the light of knowledge, then only the personalities who are causing havoc can only understand the importance of the rational as to what is the ultimate truth, who we are, and where we came from, and what is the relationship between this two. So this verse sheds light into when the semen of Kashyapa Muni is deposited into the womb of Diti, how, as you have a fuel, and when the light starts, it expands into multiple areas because the fuel is around, which is explained in this verse. Likewise, as the womb is providing an opportunity for the kids to grow, the kids who are eventually going to create havoc, then that aspect is causing so much darkness, and that is spreading darkness, exactly like how a fuel, when it catches fire, it spreads. Whenever there is a light in any gas station for the wrong reasons, it basically spreads. Likewise, as the is procreating these two demons who are going to cause havoc, that darkness is spreading, and that is very difficult for others to behave properly. So there is a lot to learn from this verse as to how we should curb darkness in our lives by getting the right understanding and right. So when Prahlad Maharaj was born, the Indras, they didn't know that this personality who is getting born to Hiranyakashipu is going to be such a bright and favorable personality. So Indra wanted to kill the womb of the mother of Prahlad, who is Kayadu, knowing that this issue is going to happen. Narad Muni took care of Mother Kayadu, and during the time Mother Kayadu spent with Narad Muni in the hermitage, Prahlad, who is in the womb of Mother Kayadu, got all the right information. And when he was born as someone who is very conscious right from the beginning, because he was hearing the words of a Mahabhag right from the mother's womb. But look at the contrary to the situation. Here it is explained that as soon as the semen of Kashyap Muni, who is very bright actually, went into the womb of Mother Diti, then darkness spread, exactly opposite to what was happening with the onset of Prahlad Maharaj, because Hiranyakashipu was doing penances, and seeing his penance, he was, there are termites who are really eating into Hiranyakashipu, and there was no one to protect Mother Kayadu, who was under the wrath of Indra, and then he has she was taken by Narad Muni into a safe place, and at that time he was constantly told about the glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, from the mother's womb itself, the spreading of light took place, exactly opposite to this verse, where the spreading of darkness was taking place from the time. Because when this happens, the right protocols were not followed, and when this turned out where see when the onset of child comes, it is not a fun activity, it is an activity where these personalities, these kids who are going to be born, they're supposed to do the prescribed duties because they have come from the Supreme and they have a role to play to give back to the Supreme. If that is not taking place, then there is a violation of the basic principle, which is why the kids who are born to this inappropriate time or not following the Vedic injunctions, they tend to become very a challenge to the society. And that challenging aspect is being discussed here as to what do we learn from this kind of activities, because here, like unlike light spreads, here darkness is getting engulfed, and that engulfing of the darkness is compared with transcendental knowledge. And so when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was born, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, after when he was growing up during his time of born, Mother Sachi was very effulgent, and there are exploration of Mother Sachi's beauty at the time of the onset of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and during that time there are very good indications that this personality, who is going to be the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is going to change. And yesterday we heard that how when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to go on Sankirtan, he was so effulgent and he was so beautiful that whoever sees Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, people used to fall in love, and they could see God in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu because he was so bright, he was so beautiful, and that element of light was spreading into the streets wherever he used to go on Sankirtan, wherever he used to go for any kind of association. So this association is such a indicative of the spreading of good or bad. It has to be taken in the right context. As you may have seen, Kaikeyi Maharani was a very warrior princess, and she was the warrior queen for Dasrath Maharaj. She had all the good qualities of a great queen. But the problem with Kaikeyi Maharani was the association of Manthara. And because of that, look what happened. She was the cause of Lord Ram to go on Vanvas. And then we have, so many subsequent pastimes which sheds light into what we should learn from the scriptures. So there is this two contrasting thing, how the onset of a Supreme Personality causes that element of excitement, the element of beauty, the element of joy, and how in this case, in this very powerful verse, how the darkness is getting spread, because we only heard light can be spread, but darkness can be spread with ignorance, because these personalities will come and they will brainwash everyone that they are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and they will teach wrong things, exactly like how we are being taught very untrue activities outside through our interactions with the media or with someone who is not favorable to Krishna consciousness. And this contrast has to be understood in the perspective that whenever these personalities come, because when Ravana, Kumbhakarna were born, there were also bad signs. And when Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyakya were born in Satyuga, and Ravana and Kumbhakarna were the subsequent, it all stemmed from Jai Vijay, because Jai Vijay were the gatekeepers, and they had this argument with pure devotees of the Lord. And because of what broke down, Lord has a desire to fight Jai Vijay in the subsequent life, and he wanted to deliver them. And because of that desire of that of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in Vaikuntha, this stemmed into Jai Vijay being born as Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyakya, and subsequently, instead of suffering for 7 generations, there were 3 generations which took place in the form of Hiranyakashipu, Hiranyakya, Ravana, and Kumbhakarna. And in Dwapar Yuga, we had Shishupal and Dantavakra, who came instead of really suffering for 7 generations. In 3 generations, Lord had to fight these personalities, and they have to bear consequences of the cause of the darkness. So this darkness has to be thought through more like how, as transcendental knowledge cleans the misinformation and the darkness and clears the darkness, we should look at this verse as how this darkness can be curbed in our lives, and how we can usher that element of Krishna consciousness so that we spread the good to everyone. So with that, I would like to end here. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, thank you, Hema Jagannatha. So, we had 1 minute left. Anybody had anything you'd like to share? Okay, those who landed early today, we'd like to wish everybody a safe and Krishna conscious day and week ahead. We'd like to offer our prayers to the Supreme Lord by chanting Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna,
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare Rama,
Hare Rama,
Hare Hare. Dina Singha, Jaya
Jaya
Baladesha, Jaya
Ramveeram
Mahavishnu Jvalam Sarvato Mukham Vishnam Bhadram Nityam
Bhagwan ki
Jai,
Lord Maharaj ki
Jai.
Let's offer our humble obeisances to all assembled Vaishnavas. Vancha kalpataru
Kalpatarunasya Kripa Sindhudevacha Patitanam Pavan Vaishnavi Namo Namo
Vaishnavinda ki jai.
Jai
Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.
Jai,
Srila Prabhupada ki
Jai.
Gaur Premanande.
Hari, 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 Bol. Thank you, everybody.
Hema Jagannatha. Thank you.